So after a long weekend of modifications on the race mower, we blew an axle. We put the tires on, we lowered the hood, the grill, the seat, we put a bigger seat on. We just put that on. I went out for the first test drive, and lo and behold, all of a sudden I had no gears. And the culprit, and if anybody's ever been out on racing mowers before, they know what happens is eventually you'll blow the C-clip on the differential side gear and the axle slides out, and that's what happened. I didn't lose the wheel or nothing got broke. It just slid out and it lost gears. So my son's in the process of we ended up putting extension bolts on these axles, if you remember, with eye locks, so that we don't have to tighten them up too much. And so he's going to take nuts off both sides. Oh, we got to take one off the other side, take the wheels off, and then we're going to gut the tranny out of it. And once the tranny's out, we'll where them C-clips are, we'll weld that, and then we won't have to worry about them no more. And then we'll be out racing again, maybe tonight, probably tomorrow. We'll see. So anyways, we got the transmission out. It's this axle that's coming out, but like I said, I know the spider gear is separated in there, so I've never been into this particular transmission before, but it can't be too serious. I'll try to split it in the middle here. I'm assuming the diff must be maybe in this half or something like that, hopefully. We'll see about where it is, and we'll go from there with it. It's definitely in that side, because that's where the shaft ends. I see that little groove. That's the groove there, folks, that we're talking about when I said the C-clip come out of the spider gear. This is the axle out of this side. Right where that groove is, there should be a small C-clip in there. Holds it into the differential carrier, and that's because I don't really want to tear this whole thing apart, so I want to end up sort of where I need to be. But if you see, if I line up the axle shaft, you can see it ends way down there, so I know that the differential's got to be in that end for that to be where the axle ends. So we'll split it right here and see if we can find the diff in there, and we'll weld the spider gears onto it. Well, here's our main differential case here. Or housing, differential housing, I guess you want to call it. You can see the shim slid out, but there's our gear that it goes through. Somewhere in there, in this oil somewhere, there's going to be what's left of that E-clip will be in there. There's still one on this axle holding him in. You can see how it's supposed to work. And it should be axled into there, and the other axle would come right up through this hole and be E-clipped in. And what we're going to do is clean off the gears, get the oil off of it, stick the axles back through. I'll get rid of the clip on this one, and then we'll weld it right to the axle, weld that gear right on, and same to this side. And anybody that ever wants to weld their differential straight, this is what people are talking about. So if I take this case open, I want to weld my two gears back in, so I weld those in. But say if I wanted posi traction, then I'd weld in the corner of these four gears, just boom, 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 and on this other side. And then that way one would always turn with the other. It would always be constant gears in each direction. So, but I don't want that. It makes it pretty hard to steer. I've had a few where I've done it and done the done full welded gears, and it makes them hard to steer. They're really hard to steer. You got to sit right on the front of them and really mess around to make them work. I tell you though, I'm not sure what transmission this thing is, but it is a pretty solid little unit. It's like I say, it's a 3-speed. I'm not sure what company it's from. I don't see a marking on it anywhere at the second, but it's a pretty tough little unit. But anyways, we're going to clean this up and weld up that axle in there and get it back together. Alright, back on our rear diff project. So we talked about before, the two C-clips, or well, the one C-clip on, or E-clip on this side had fallen off. This one was still here, but you can see the hole was all beat out in it. So I took it off. We're going to weld it too. Now here's the thing I do for two reasons. You see how the gears kind of flop around on the shafts. They're, you know, it's not wore out. That's the way it was built to be. So when everything's flexing a little bit, there's some room. So here's what I do when I weld these things is, you know, you would think right off, oh, okay, we'll weld the two halves together. No, don't do that. Just weld a lump on it. Just take your shaft and try to get as close as you can to the other piece, but don't actually try to weld the two together. Weld a good sized lump on it so that it won't roll in and out on you, but it leaves you a little bit of flop so you won't end up breaking a gear in here or the axle itself. So it's just a little bit better way I find to do them. I've never had a problem doing them that way. So we're going to zap a couple beads of weld just to hold the axles in. We're not welding the diff. We're not going to close it. Like I say, it's a hard venue to steer these things with the diff closed up. So anyways, for now we'll leave it this way. Alright, so got her welded up. I actually, you know, I shut the camera off and the brain was still running, so I modified what I said earlier where I was saying just to put a spot of weld, and what I did was actually I put a washer on first and then welded the washer to the shaft, but the gear is still free spinning in behind, or free wiggling in behind. It's still got some space to flop around. Which is what we were trying for. I don't want them gears locked right on the shaft. So you can see there's a washer, a couple spot welds, washers, couple spot welds. There's nothing much to it. We'll throw a little more gasket goo on the ugly holes, and we'll put some friggin' bolts back through her. And with any luck, she seals up half decent. We'll put her back in the mower. While I got her out too, you can see when I was doing my wheel slop, the axles on this one, where the wheel, it come out to about here on the new wheels, so I added this bolt to the end so that I can actually thread on to the end of it, so kind of gives me a better support anyway. So we'll get the differential housing back on and bolt her back together and fill it full of fluid, and then tomorrow we'll jam it back in. So that's it for tonight. Anyways, all back together. I got the two diff gears welded on. Axles no more longer fall out, but like I say, I didn't weld the diff. It's just still open diff, so it steers. Unless you're getting right into mudding it all the time, I wouldn't worry about welding the diff on one of these things. They get pretty good traction anyways, for as light as they are. But everything went back in fine. I did end up taking all the gears out of the main case. Half of that C or E clip was in there, right there. I found half of them. The other half, I don't know, beat up all the snot, the little tiny pieces. I did find a couple little crumbs here and there, but you see what they look like whole, and they just wear thin. And you know, motoring around your lawn at you know, 5-10 kilometers an hour, you could do that. The eternity of that transmission and that clip would never fall off, but you get beaten through the field at 40-50 kilometers an hour. It's a little rough on them. So that washer welded in there, it'll take care of that trick. I've already checked out. I already got all my gears. And something I did too was when I filled this thing, I filled it already with fluid, because you don't want to try to do it in the mower. It totally sucks. And what I did was I took the fill plug out, and I still had the gear shifter out, and there's a great big hole there, so I just dumped fluid right in through there until it come out the fill hole. No problem. I put the fill hole back in, and I actually added probably another like quarter inch of fluid in there just for good measures. But other than that, it's back together. It's ready to go. We'll jam her back into the mower tomorrow, and we'll go out for another good romp, me and my boy Reese. So that's it. That's how you weld your diff gears. We'll get this posted, and then hopefully it helps somebody out.